a personal choice of mine that we do not reply to dooms during this story out of respect for the very, very young victims of this story. In 1860, in the spring, the Navy was searching the waters off of the Florida Keys looking for ships with illegal cargo, human cargo, because this was after the sale of humans into slavery had been banned. Well, in May of 1860, right off the coast of Cuba, they captured 3 U.S. ships with that cargo. They were the William, the Wildfire, and the Bogota. Down in the holds of these 3 ships, they find very inhumane and very unsanitary conditions. Folks, they also find chained together more than 1,400 young, naked children between the ages of 12 and 16 that were stolen from their homes in Africa, being shipped to Cuba to be sold into slavery. The condition on board those ships were so bad that those children did not see daylight in over 60 days. They were not even able to sit. They had to lie in their own waste, and they had rats crawling all over them. Many of those children were starving, many more sick with disease, and some had already died. The Navy was told to take them to the closest U.S. port, which happened to be Key West. Our population at that time was only around 3,000, which means in one night, our population exploded by almost 50%. We had no advance notice that they were coming, and we had nowhere to house them. When the children were handed over to the U.S. Marshal, he made a quick decision to place them at the barracks that were being built for Fort Zachary Taylor. They weren't completed yet, but they set up a community. Every resident in town gathered everything they could find to feed, clothe, and bring some comfort to them. The town then paid for their medical bills. 80 days after their arrival, Washington, D.C. sent 3 ships down to transport the survivors back to Liberia, West Africa, to live out the rest of their days as freed men and women. But that didn't happen either. When those boats returned to Africa, most of those children were re-enslaved. But the death and the disease that started on those ships killed 294 children. A local carpenter built coffins for them. They were taken to a remote part of our island and laid to rest on the beach. This exact beach. Folks, we are now at Higgs Beach, a very popular beach, but it is where 294 children are still buried. The following year in 1861, as the Civil War is raging, Washington, D.C. orders the building of 2 additional fortifications called Martellos. We already had Fort Zach, but they wanted 2 more on the south side of the island, a mile and a half apart, the distance a cannonball could fly. After mapping it out, the Army Corps of Engineers here objected because they knew 1 Martello would be built on top of the children. But Washington, D.C. didn't care and ordered construction anyway. The workers dug in deep. They unearthed several children and reburied them in an unmarked mass grave. In 2002, a local historian armed with an old map of U.S. beaches and ground penetrating radar found some of them. But here on our right, we have the remains of the never even completed West Martello. Folks, if they weren't even going to complete this structure, why did they have to dig them up?
Yeah, really.
And now on our right, we have our second burial ground. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our African cemetery. I will be stepping off of the bus here so I can better describe what you're looking at. If you are seated on the left side of the trolley, feel free to stand up if you want to get a better view, but please stay on the trolley. Ladies and gentlemen, here we have the continent of Africa. On the west shore of Africa, you see 3 crosses, which are where those 3 ships, the William, the Wildfire, and the Bogota, began their journey. In the center, behind the tree, is the Compass Rose, and then on the far side, we have Florida, Key West, and Cuba. Around Cuba are 3 more crosses, which are where those ships were captured. On top of Key West is a star with a tail, and the tail is the path that those children took back to Liberia. When you come out during the day, folks, to pay your respect to these children, pay close attention to the 15 ovals that you see outlined here in the concrete. Because, folks, this is where 15 of those 294 children are resting. The oval there by the W in the Compass Rose is only 3.5 to 4 feet long. A very small child is buried there, only 2 to 3 feet beneath the surface of the sand. On the perimeter are African symbols and blessings, blessing them on their journey. This is a very powerful monument. When you do come out, you can read their full story on the black sign there to the left. But ladies and gentlemen, now turn your heads to the other side of the street. You're going to notice a fairly large green space. In 2010, they start excavating that green space in order to expand the park. And folks, in 2010, they find an additional 150 children in that green space. Now, it was determined that the children found over there were part of the same tragedy as the ones over here. So excavation stopped. Those children were covered back up and that land is now dedicated to them. Nothing will ever be built there. Even though we're never going to hear the voices of these 294 children, it gives your host tonight just a little bit of peace to know that they are finally getting the respect that everybody deserves.